Speed to insights is critical. Well, what if you could validate your UX concepts faster by launching tests directly from Figma? Welcome to One Amazing Thing About User Testing. Today we're talking with Bobby Meixner, VP of Solution Marketing at User Testing, and he's going to be sharing one amazing thing about their integration with Figma with us today. Bobby, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Greg. Happy to be here.
Yeah, looking forward to seeing this in action. Before we do, though, why don't you start with giving a little background on yourself and your role at User Testing?
Yeah, absolutely. So I lead our solution marketing team here at User Testing. And just a little bit of background about User Testing if people haven't heard of it. Our purpose is really to enable enterprises to understand the perspective of their customer. So you're probably asking, okay, what does that really mean, right? Let's take an example. You brought up design, right? So, say I'm a designer, I'm working on the next version of, say, for example, the Wells Fargo mobile app, and I want to get feedback from people on my new mobile app, on my designs before we go through the whole process of developing it and rolling it out, because obviously there's a lot of cost involved in that. User testing enables me to get real reactions from real people interacting with the prototype. And as they're doing that, right, user testing is going through and recording their facial expressions, what they say, what are they doing on the screen, so that I can understand not only whether something is working, whether something is resonating or not, but also why. So the same can be true for marketers who may want to test creative, test messaging before they do a media buy. We have over 3,000 customers that really leverage us to better understand their customer perspective so they can make better decisions. You could think of it almost like a focus group in a fraction of the time, because 85% of the tests that come back or that are run in the platform come back in less than 2 hours.
Wow. Wow, that's great. Yeah, that's speed to insights, right? So that's great. So today
Exactly.
we're going to talk about the Figma integration here. So why don't you before we take a look, why don't we
Yeah.
tell us a little bit about it, who's the audience and why is it important to them?
Yeah. So the audience here is anybody who works in Figma, right? So think of
Yeah.
a designer who is working on a new prototype. They want to get feedback on it. That's a fairly typical process. But up until now, with what I'm going to show you, it required them to use multiple tools, right? Go into user testing, learn user testing, know how to ask the right questions to get the quality, unbiased feedback that they need in order to improve the experience. And what I'm going to be showing you today is how a designer can, right within the Figma experience, launch a test, get feedback on their design, all without having to leave their flow of work. They can do it directly within Figma.
Very cool. Yeah, let's
Yeah.
let's take a look. Why don't you share your screen?
Okay, so let's take a look. Okay, so here we are. We're going to set the scene here a little bit. This is Jane. Jane is a senior designer for one of our fictional brands, Threadline. You can think of them as a high end brand of home furnishings and bedding. And Jane's responsibility here is to produce the best product detail page, right? One that looks good, is on brand, drives conversion, meets all the goals, right? So, what is she doing? She's over here, she's working in Figma, and she has three prototypes. She may not necessarily be sure which one to go with. Some have certain capabilities and features that others don't. She wants to get real reactions from real people to understand the direction that she's going to take the design in. So, what does she need to do in order to do that? Well, all she needs to do is come down to her little panel here and click on Get Feedback. And this is where you see user testing embedded directly into the Figma experience. So she's greeted with a prompt here that's simply asking her what she wants to learn from her users. What is her goal? AI is actually going to do the rest. And this is really helpful for somebody like Jane, who's a designer, because she doesn't need to necessarily be a researcher and understand what questions to ask in order to get quality feedback that she can then take and use and incorporate in the next iteration of the design. So she just goes in and types in what concept helps customers feel the most confident when buying. And we've automatically suggested some popular goals here based upon tests that have been run in the past. So we're going to compare multiple versions. And she goes ahead and clicks on generate the test. So, in the background, user testing, leveraging our AI capabilities, has gone through and designed a whole test plan, a whole series of questions that the participants will be asked as they're interacting with these designs. It could be things like, what do they think of the imagery? Is there enough product information? Are they able to clearly understand how to add something to their cart? Whatever it might be, based upon Jane's goals. We've also gone through and automatically selected the audience of Threadline customers. And just to make sure that if this is a highly confidential design that we don't want leaking out, we can password protect it as well. So Jane is going to go ahead and click on launch. So the test is launched. It's now going out to the user testing panel of folks that are Threadline customers and soliciting feedback from them. So they're interacting with these prototypes, the feedback is being collected. Now, as I mentioned earlier, 85% of the tests that are run on our platform produce results within a couple hours.
Right.
So Jane might go to lunch, maybe she takes a break, maybe she works on another project. When she's done, she comes back and she gets the notification here right within Figma that her prototype comparison results are ready. So here she can come in to click on view results, and right within her canvas, she gets a finding summary. So at the top, AI has summarized the feedback that everyone has gone through and given. It's letting us know that Concept C is the one that inspires the most confidence when purchasing. Why? Obviously, we help folks get the answer to that question. It's really because of the customer reviews and the details that were presented around the product. If she looks at the results further, here we can see that concept C clearly performs better across a variety of different experience metrics. It's getting a 77 score in terms of the quality of the experience. And then down below, we're also giving some recommendations that Jane can take and incorporate as her and the design team iterate on concept C moving forward. So in this case, it may be making the shipping and returns information a little bit more prominent. Maybe we make some tweaks to the gallery interactions to make them clearer. All of this is really, really helpful for a designer that wants to make sure they're doing their best work as quickly as possible. Now, if she wants other details on the other concepts, she can actually, come over and take a look at some other themes that have surfaced in the feedback. She can click on the videos to actually see and hear real people interacting with the design. There's heat maps. She can dive in and look at path flow information in much more greater detail if she needs that level of detail. But at this point, Jane is feeling pretty confident that design C is kind of where the design needs to go. Now, the other problem that a lot of designers face is getting stakeholder buy-in, right? Design can be really, really subjective, and we help with that as well. So, say Jane is going into a meeting with a variety of different stakeholders. Maybe she has to meet with marketing, she's got to meet with the product team, engineering wants to know what direction the design is going in. She can take all of this information and bring it into her design review meetings. So we can come over here and click on Generate Report in Figma Slides, and it pops some of these details into a slide deck for her that she can then take into the meeting and showcase the real feedback to the various stakeholders. So she has the ability to play a highlight reel. This is really where a lot of the feedback really comes to life. A lot of folks really like the level of emotional detail that comes out in these. It adds a lot of clarity to what oftentimes can be data on a screen or really subjective information.
Yeah, this is I would say this is amazing. A couple things really stand out to me at least is, just that idea of selling to the stakeholders is a key part that I think maybe a lot of designers they may know or they may intuitively, know what might work, but to have the data to back it up, but also just to be able to get the data earlier in the process. It's kind of like with functional testing, I think that it's like shift left is kind of the approach there. It's kind of shift left for design, right?
Yes, yeah, exactly. I mean, how many times have you heard somebody say, "Gosh, I wish I would have known that sooner," or "I wish I would have known how people were going to react to something before I did it," right? And
Right.
that's related to multiple things, right? This applies to folks in a variety of different roles. It doesn't necessarily have to be feedbacks on design. It could feedback on design. It could be feedback on messaging, on creative, in person in-store experiences. You can really test anything and get really quality customer perspective that helps inform the decisions that you make. Because at the end of the day, everyone is swimming in data, but it's hard to make sense of it. And this qualitative insight really helps round out the story.
Yeah, love it. Well, Bobby, thanks so much for joining the show. One last question before we wrap up here. For those that like what they see and wanna learn more, what's the best way for them to take the next step?
Yeah, the best way to learn more is to go to usertesting.com. All of our information is there, but you can also reach out to me. You can find me on LinkedIn. I'm always happy to help.
Wonderful. Well, again, I'd like to thank Bobby Meixner, VP of Solution Marketing at User Testing, for joining the show. You can learn more about Bobby and User Testing by following the links in the show notes.